TGIF Warriors. Hi, Bran. Done my best. I agree with you. Hail all trading warrior brothers. Kman, how are you? James. Harold's here for his interview. Looking forward to talking to you, my friend. Sinatra, how are you? Mike, Patrick, Blake's in the house. And okay, so this is what happens if you don't trail your stops. All right, this was Amazon. I've been saying for weeks, if it takes out 191, there's a problem. There's a problem. Okay. I don't know. Why don't I start off with the Kman?
Hey, good morning, Dale.
How are you, buddy?
Yeah,
So
very good.
good. So China didn't show up in Asia last night to do any buying.
Exactly. And then 24.5 went and it dropped like a stone.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pretty. Go ahead.
No. I mean, it's all like, well, I was saying like, well, yesterday perhaps on Face, I didn't have the opportunity, but I was saying like, watch that 24.5. It hadn't really been challenged yet. And on the first challenge, it just went back down. Yeah, they really have the key to what's happening in gold right now. And also, so I mean, I think the late buyers have been rinsed on this move. Um, but for me, it was okay because I just took everything off from what I had in the 23, so that's fine. And now I'm waiting to see if we can get somewhere below 2400 to gently start rebuying. Yeah, and silver is doing the same thing. Couldn't hold the 31 and then not the 30. And now we're back down on support here, 29, 28 and a half. But it all depends because tariff man is in the house, putting all these EVs a bit in under stress. So I don't know. Perhaps silver can go a bit lower. I'm going to be patient on this one. And then latest thing is that what is it? What's the name again? I keep on forgetting the name. Yeah, CrowdStrikes. That put a bit of a mess in all markets as well this morning. It started around 7 a.m. London time, so that's about 6 hours ago. Some security patch or update messing up with all systems, including for banks, airports, brokers, well, you name it. Everybody was affected. And I think that really pushed everything another leg down. Everything, equity markets, commodities, everything was down.
Okay, S&Ps are up, but
Yeah, they just
I think gold just relented to liquidation pressure across the board. We have the potential of a key reversal week in the S&Ps if it closes lower there. Hi,
Mm.
Harold. We're on in about a half an hour.
Great. Just checking you can hear us.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got
Yes.
you. All
Perfect.
right. All
Thank
right,
you.
Harold.
Thanks,
So enjoy.
Pippa.
Great to see you guys. Hi.
Hey, oh, it is
Hey,
Pippa.
hello.
Hi, Pippa.
Hey,
Good to
I'm
see
being
you as
IT
well.
support this morning.
Okay.
Doing a great job.
Look at
Please
that.
do.
A good
Okay,
daughter.
we'll be
Good
ready in
daughter.
half an hour.
All right. Thanks very much,
Thank
guys.
you.
All right. So key reversal in the S&Ps if we close down here, and a 2-week reversal if it closes under 55.60. So we're right there. The Nasdaq, the 2-week reversal is, pretty much baked in unless we have a huge rally. Here's the close 2 weeks ago, 19,006. 20,004 was the close 2 weeks ago. So, we're 600 points underneath it. Throwover still in effect in the Dow. You have to wait for it to close back inside the formation. That's back under 40,000. So there's still 600 points for it to give. And the great rotation We'll see. I mean, it's given up almost everything,
Hmm.
right? So here's
Yeah, I mean, you can rotate for as long as you can rotate, right? And then the move kicks in of those who were trying to jump on the bandwagon, and yeah. But I heard in the Russell, there's people getting interested there. Where is it? If you can put it back on, Russell. Is it that one? No, huh?
yeah,
Is that the one?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
around that 210,
10,
210,
yeah,
212 mark. Yeah. Um, People thinking that this may be like a correction, and then if we get another like leg lower, they would be quite interested there. But that's a while away. Yeah,
210. It could be there in a day.
yeah, it could be. But I mean,
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've heard the same thing.
all right,
That
okay.
people will come in and buy, and they'll also buy cyclicals because it's a no landing scenario because of the Fed, and that's why small caps are surged. So you'd think that people would buy this first break, 210.
Yeah.
Currencies, any views? Dollar. Uh,
Currencies, yeah, the dollar is making a bit of a comeback, and I think that as I was saying as well on the flow show this morning, this is we hooked off from the risk and equities wagon for a while, and now it jumped back on it, and I think that's what we're seeing now. And there's two things happening. I think in the dollar is that one, people try to sell it. We were talking about it being a bit stretched. If you look at stuff like cable. Perhaps even stuff like, well, dollar Swiss being a bit too low as well. Things were getting a bit stretched, and then all of a sudden the dollar kicked back onto the wagon, and bit of a lukewarm ECB despite the sources a couple of hours later. Yeah, the dollar is making a bit of a comeback, and also I think accelerated this morning because of those issues that struck, and yeah.
okay.
That's what it is. Euro dollar, I'm not too sure. I still think we are mooching around in a range because we saw those euro crosses going up in sympathy with what those sources were saying, and also when it's risk off, they tend to do a bit better. Those euro crosses. I'm not overly tempted in the euro, to be honest, but yeah, the rest could perhaps correct a bit more.
Yeah, I like the euro right around here. It's where
Yeah,
I'd be
that's
a
a
buyer.
decent level. That's one that I have pinned on as well. That's one that I'm looking at.
Cable maybe around 28
A
here,
lot of short, medium-term confluence in the 28 and a quarter, 28.35 zone. A
and the
lot.
Dixie could rally, maybe try the 105 level again. See, yeah, there's a lot of confluence up here on the Dixie, and that'd be some type of fib retrace. So that's where I'd be interested in fading. The dollar is up there next week. You
Hmm.
have the 200 on the 4 up there, probably halfway or 61.8 back. Um, that's what I'd be looking to do.
Well,
And
speaking of which, Dale, how are your brokers working? Because I have Forex.com is down for me, and I think it is probably globally for most people. My Orlando accounts are working just fine. Are you seeing your trading accounts working?
I haven't even logged in
Oh.
because I'm mainly just options, but I could log in and check.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that this CrowdStrike issue has been, kind of it's paralyzed a lot of us trading FX.
Yeah, that's very uncomfortable. not to be
Huh?
able to do it. They're very uncomfortable not to be able to do anything.
It is, especially I got some pretty large size, short Aussie dollar, and we're sitting on support. And it's like I was telling everybody in the chat room, I'm like, I sure would like to cover that today. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like yeah,
I gave you I gave you a sort of solution, but you have to trade it between two different accounts, of course.
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to just start buying, getting long in another account to hedge myself. I don't necessarily want to do that. I really want to just pull exposure off, as a whole. So anyway,
You had
it's
a
a,
great eye on the copper yesterday, Blake. I mean, it really accelerated to the
yeah, and
downside.
it's at the 618 this morning, so or getting close to. So that's like it broke, thank you. And it broke the breakout point from, but you have to go keep looking left. It
Yeah.
broke there, continued to go down. We are at the 618 or getting close to. I like I said, I updated it in the Forex Analytics chat room this morning. So
I just want to show a little macro look here, and the fact that gold might be the outlier in the metals complex. So that looks great, right? We had a $2,100 breakout, right? That looks great. Here's silver. Doesn't look that great when you take it in context from here, and then, things that are supposed to lead look ugly. I could pull up palladium too. It doesn't look that great either. So really, it's mainly gold that's
yeah,
really proven itself. No
that's
other metal has.
that's a boycott fiat currency complete play. I mean, that's no trust in the in central banks and fiat and purchasing power of all fiat currencies going down. We trade currencies against one
Look at
another,
Yeah, and look
but
at palladium.
yeah, I mean,
So people have been trying to bottom pick this for a while too. So the white metals, silver's performing the best, but again, you look at it and you could be a bear up here too.
yeah. Well,
So go ahead.
yeah. Anyway,
And the
I
VIX,
think
Blake. VIX is the last thing.
yeah,
All
VIX
right.
is
It's having a nice month. It's
yep.
having a nice week. There you
Yeah.
go.
We're
So
well above 15 and it broke out of a triangle.
yeah,
I and
looks like
I'm
20 probably could go for 20 now.
well, that's gonna be good for us traders.
Yeah,
It's great if it does, right? And
yeah.
people on this show know that VIX for 20 might make some investors uncomfortable, but for us as traders, it's really a good thing. So but
Especially
Dale,
if
I'm
you're
gonna
long
go ahead
vol.
and take over the charts here and get us up to speed on a few things.
Oh, I
And
thought
thank
I
you.
did that.
Oh, you did.
Oh, all right.
Well, let's just we're gonna run through Forex Analytics and just through some of the basic technical analysis that you guys will see here from this morning. The euro dollar is at channel support now. Last night, on our end of day update, channel support 108.70. That was updated last night. Today's low, coming really close to that. And you can see this is, when Kman, when you say the euro's mooching around a little bit against the crosses, it is. I'm really very bummed out that I really wanted to get short a lot of euro above 109.50, closer to 109.80. And it's really a bummer that we didn't get that opportunity. But that doesn't mean that the euro can't, roll over from here. And I think there's some downside should the euro break down or the dollar really start to break out. So I think that's something that we have to watch. Sterling, this is another big one too. We completed our this is a Gartley harmonic pattern, hit the 161% extension above 130. Most of us that have been in the Forex Analytics chat room were just lightening up above 130. And now that it's trading at 129, you have to realize if we break through 129, bulls are going to be, anybody who's bullish sterling, or maybe let's take that back, maybe cable is probably going to be thinking twice about that on a break below 129, especially you get a weekly close below that and it's not going to look very pretty. You look at like the Aussies, this is one. I was having this conversation with one of our trader funding program traders yesterday afternoon. I met with them because, you know, if you take a trader funding program assessment for the month of July, you have a one-on-one session with me. And I was just talking about people getting wrong-footed, and this is a great example of everybody chasing the Aussie dollar higher. I was too. I played it on the long side on the 5th of July. I happened to be in San Diego, Dale, on vacation, you know, for the holiday. And I bought that spike right there. I got long and I stayed long into the next week, you know, coming off a holiday, sold it on the approach to the 161% extension. But this is a massive, massive breakout. And the fact that we're dipping back in or getting close to dipping back into that, you know, 1.5 month range is going to really probably get some longs a little nervous, and it's probably going to get people to lighten up. So we are at the 618 retracement. You can see of this entire move up. We're at the 618 retracement. We're at the bottom of the support zone, which we've had marked up here for the last month. We break below that. We break below today's lows. It's probably going to open up some downside. So this is why, you know, you look around, you go, is there possibility for more dollar strength today, especially on a Friday, especially on a week where things are looking a little bit dicey, and you know, you got the US dollar Canadian stalling at the 78% retracement, descending trend line.
It's been the
US dollar,
relative strength. It's really acted well, even when the difference between the dollar chart and the Canadian chart are like night and day.
yeah, and you know, and I've been surprised, and fortunately I've been playing it on the long side. You know, on the move to the 200 DMA, the hold of that, the hold of the 136 level. I got long pretty aggressively down here, and I'm not long
BOC meets
anymore.
next week, right?
Well, what's that?
BOC has a meeting next week, right? Interest rate decision.
Kman, I don't know. Kman probably knows better than me. I haven't really looked.
What?
Bank of Canada.
They are not meeting next week. Oh
Yes,
no, they are. They are.
Yeah,
They are.
they are. Yeah,
They are.
they're expected to cut, and if
Yep.
we got retail sales out in 10, 12 minutes, and
Yes.
Yeah.
if they are
I'm
weak,
Blake, I'm going to wait for that
sorry.
to see how it reacts. I'm going to wait.
The Bank of
that.
Canada, and
Yeah.
remember, positioning is really, you know, like I said, I'm struggling with long Canadian dollars up at these levels, or let me take that back. Short Canadian dollars, long dollar CAD at these levels, knowing what positioning is in the market. And I'll reference that chart here in just a second. I'll pull it up on one of my other screens.
Maybe they're going to
here.
end up being right. I sure thought they were going to be wrong.
Yeah, you know, I did
36
too.
would take it out.
I was with you, Dale, and I did too. And I actually, gosh dang it,
You
trying to
flipped.
find.
You got long.
I did,
Absolutely.
and I'm out of it now. And so when you're in the middle of this range, you know, and
Yeah.
you can see it, the longer term. I mean, longer term triangle looks like this. I mean, just okay. There's your longer term triangle. When you're at the upper end of this range that we've been in for the last couple of months, I struggle at this point being too aggressively you know, long the dollar CAD, knowing that the Canadian positioning is so lopsided. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the chart right now. It'll take me just a second. But yeah, I think that's a smart decision to wait for the Bank of Canada before you know, making that decision. I think that's smart, Dale.
Thanks.
Here, just so you guys can see it, this is 20-year CFTC positioning. Matter of fact, let's go to maximum, and let me grab the drawing tool here. This shows you how aggressively short right now, speculative and short term, you know, fast money, basically. That's the way you can look at it. Institutional
No.
institutional fast money is like very, very short Canadian dollars. That's what worries me the most. And that's why I struggle, because everybody's targeting 140. I don't think it's a secret, because we've been talking about it here for months, talking about Dale, you've had interviews with a bunch of Canadian analysts, Adam Button from Forex Live. Everybody's looking at Canada, thinking, man, the economy is really going to struggle going into this next year. So it's not surprising the entire market is really looking for a move, above 140, maybe towards 145. It's just, I keep thinking that positioning is going to square up a little bit, and it hasn't. So, that's, everybody's pretty aggressive. And as you just said, Dale, I think they could be right. I think they will be right eventually. So, but maybe we need a little push from the Bank of Canada to get us over that hump. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. So I agree with you. One of the other things, I'm gonna share this with you really fast. We've been watching this this dollar yen, and I find the move higher, Kman, in European trade. That looked like enough just to squeeze out some shorts. This
happened in
little
Japan
head.
already, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a big area.
And
Well,
that,
here, let's go back to the dollar yen.
we had a bit of
And
a yo-yo in the yen. Japan took it higher despite sticky inflation, actually. Then we had a bit of a drop there, 60, 70 pips drop on the Bank of Japan minutes from their bond meeting with market participants, where market participants are pushing them to scale back a lot on their JGB buying. But then actually the JGBs itself didn't react much. So now we're back to where we were, basically. Yeah, it's still the same thing. Interventions, people getting out of all the positions, risk coming down, people getting out of more positions, and what happens 2 days later? We're 200 points higher.
yeah, and let me just show you guys some of the yen pairs that I think are really important. And you can see them all. Well, let me just do it this way. Is probably.
Yeah, put retracements, put Fibonacci fibs on most of the yen pairs since December 2024 up to the highs. So December 2024, 23, sorry. We marked a bit of a low on sorry, yen pairs as well, because we had those year-end stuff going on. But if you put retracements on there, we kind of tagged most of the 23.6%. on whether it's in euro yen, whether it's in sterling yen.
Yeah.
If you put them on there, and so that's more medium term. Even those 23.6% in some of those pairs are already holding. So it's I still have difficulties to be long yen for longer.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at like euro yen's a great example of a
170.
really very well managed channel. And it's holding the 50 DMA. We had some really bullish hammers yesterday across the spectrum of yen pairs, and that in itself, the reactions that we saw, not last night but the night before last, pretty big in all these yen pairs. So there is a battle, as you pointed out. One of the things about the dollar yen, this is the one thing that I want to point out, just since the dollar is more of the weakened of the currencies of all the yen pairs. You can see this. Let me see if I can pull that channel out just a little bit further. We've broken the channel. We've broken the 618. We've broken the 50 DMA, which we're now nestled below. And so that's why the dollar yen may struggle around these levels. And that's a dollar, obviously you have to think, well, it's a dollar pair. You're factoring in the dollar into this equation. So the dollar yen, I think, is at some pretty key resistance. But real quick, before we have this Canadian retail sales, which, by the way, I don't think this is going to move the needle for me. Even if the Canadian retail sales is weak, I can't imagine. Well, I'm struggling to trade right now because my Forex.com account is still down. But a move above the 78% retracement, even if we got to push above that on weak Canadian data, I don't know if I'd chase it too far on a Friday. But how are you looking at the Canadian right now, Kman?
We have to know that those retail sales are also for the month of May, not the month of June, right? So they are 1 month delayed, but they have moved the Canadian dollar. I'm with you not to chase it here, but then I can't look besides the fact that the dollar is better beat, and we have seen that the Canadian dollar and also the MEX now with the Trump 2.0 thing, they are prone to a bit of weakness. They're getting weaker faster than other stuff, and so I think a miss on the Canadian retail sales could take us up to just back to that 137.5 there. Yeah, that
Yeah.
prior. I think there's perhaps another 30-40 points in it. And then people will probably start to look at do we really want hefty positions into the weekend or not?
Yeah, speaking of the Trump trade, the dollar MEX has been very well behaved in this channel.
Yeah.
And so the great thing is where the breakout point is. If you guys want to, if we see remember today's Friday, we've had a really big run, and if you look at the S&P, we stopped yesterday on a dime on the 618 retracement. We've held there in European trade, even some of the dips that you've seen overnight have held as well. So being that it's at the end of the week, we're actually seeing pretty ugly candle developing. You can see the S&P. I'm just going to zoom in real quick. Pretty ugly outside day, bearish engulfing. You could call it. Yeah, it's a key reversal week. It is Friday, and people are looking at this going, we got Trump. He's reemerging as the leader here that could really, that could be in play. Could be some more volatility. Maybe just to be safe, I'm going to pull some off. You start to see some risk aversion going into Friday at the end of the week here. You got to watch this dollar MEX. This dollar MEX, we break above, I'm sorry, let me go back to intraday. We start breaking above this 1810 level, 1808. That was yesterday's high. We start breaking above that, and we're going to get a bit of a squeeze. So this would be a good risk off barometer. Plus, you're seeing metals come off. Your Bitcoin's a little heavier. Copper's trading heavy. A lot of things that are suggesting that stocks might have a little rocky end of the week session. So keep that all in mind. Real quick, I'm just going to pull up the dollar CAD, and Ryan's out today. He'll be back on Monday. What's Ryan doing? Is he having a day away with the kids in the woods?
Yeah, the kids are school's over, so I guess he's with the kids.
Oh wait, I didn't want that. I want to pull up data flash. There's data flash. Okay, I'm going to pull that over. I'll pull it up back on Live Squawk. Let's put in the dollar CAD. And let me pull it up really fast. Oh, it's way up here. There's a dollar CAD. Let's go to a live chart. And we will look for instant reaction here. Here's a 15-minute chart. You can see how the dollar CAD responds. And I'm going to pull that data over here. And we have about a minute. And I want to make sure you guys all stick around for after we're done here. With Harold here, and fortunately his sound is working today. What a great interview to have, Dale. I mean, based on the events that have transpired over the last week, coming off the RNC convention, which just wrapped up last night.
Going to be really asleep during the acceptance speech. Give me a why.
I kept walking back in going, oh my God, he's still going. And I shouldn't have been surprised.
Anyone
but
fall asleep? I didn't even need I didn't even need a sleeping pill last night. So anyway.
Well, it's great to have Harold here, but let's see this Canadian data. It's being released. And remember, guys, I'll just say this real quick. Trader funding program, one-on-one session with me for the month of July. We've had a lot of people take advantage of it. do it. You know, we're close to wrapping up the month. So
you're off screen.
here comes the
Right.
weaker data. Kman, is this going to be enough to push us to
week.
750?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
the
and
prices as well are coming down. Industrial, raw material prices coming down.
weak revisions too.
Yeah, but
Non-event and price
here we
so
go.
far.
It's Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not moving much.
Don't try and make your week on a Friday. Never
That's
Don't
right.
try
try
to
to make your
lose
week
it.
on a Friday.
Don't try to lose it because that's too easy, Dale. Have a great weekend and a great interview.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Dale.
Kman.
Appreciate you. Thank you,
Thank you for
Kman.
all your hard work this week, Kay and Blake. You guys are dedicated people who care about their subscribers. So, anyway, have a great weekend, Dream Team and Harold. I'm so glad to have you back, and I thought we'd start with politics. That okay with you?
Yeah, you may.
Okay, so will Joe relent and let someone else top the ticket for the Democrats?
I think we're in motion, whether he relents or whether he's pushed over the cliff. But it's just a matter of a few days.
Okay.
You know, he can say it's a medical problem for him. He's got COVID, he's sick. They can make it sound he's very sick. So we're going to see a big shift. Now, the big question is, will he stay in office while not running, or will Kamala Harris become president? It seems to be a lot of aversion to that in the party, not said publicly. And she's not ready. She hasn't shown signs of preparing with a staff build-up for taking power. So that's an unknown. And it's going to be a free-for-all as to who the candidates are going to be. And who knows who's playing who. Obama is certainly going to have an influence over the outcome. But right now, the momentum is with Trump. It's so big that we have to start thinking a likelihood we're coming to a Trump presidency.
Okay.
And, you know, hasn't changed a lot in the foreign exchange view. He likes a weak dollar. His new vice president candidate likes a weak dollar. I don't think they have people around them who understand that would lead to high inflation. They just don't, they're not that deep in thinking. All they're thinking about is selling
exports. More. Yeah, they're thinking about exports being better with a weaker dollar for the U.S.
No, they're definitely going to put up a lot more barriers to imports. Whether they do it with tariffs only or...
How do they create a weaker dollar just because they want one? How can they, I mean, yeah, I want a weaker, stronger dollar. What do I do to execute it to make sure it manifests in the market? Do they really have that kind of control? I mean, there are a lot of people that would like to unseat the dollar globally. How does someone like President Trump and VP Vance execute that strategy through the Fed?
Mostly with words, because if the dollar starts to trend lower, it has huge implications for China and for the euro. Trump doesn't think in terms of global reaction.
Right.
And it's very hard for the U.S. You know, to move the dollar even a few points. But what we have to foresee is more restriction on trade. And that's going to be a big problem for China, because China just third plenary meeting that was just finished, Xi Jinping is emphasizing you got to export more. And they can't depend solely on the demand of developing countries. They need more exports to the advanced economies. And we may be closing the door on them. So they're going to be forced to push the renminbi, the yuan lower. And whether they want to or not, they have no choice. So, and I think they'll have to go lower than they are thinking now. I mean, the present thinking in the markets is, they'll move to 750, 760.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to have to go much further than that. But when that happens, the dollar is not going to get weaker. So now the euro is a big unknown, by the way. I mean, there's an illusion that somehow nothing's changed, but everything has changed. France is falling apart. The relationship with Germany's government is weak. How they're going to sort out their budget problems and the penalties they're trying to impose on each other. I foresee euro weakening dramatically. And so,
all right.
Now,
So it's been moving sideways for the best part of a year and a half in a real tight range. Are you in the sub-parity camp, like a 98, 96 level for the euro? Sub-par period?
Slow motion. It won't happen fast, but I'm very gloomy about the outlook for the European Union.
Wouldn't the outlook get worse if the euro actually strengthened and the dollar weakened? Wouldn't it even be tougher for Europe if that happened?
Yes.
Okay, because I think that's going to happen. Let me ask you this, Harold. Do you believe that eventually we're going to launch a central bank digital currency?
Very interesting. Trump has been talking to Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, how about that?
And he started with Kman and not everybody knows Kman, but Kman for the Fed. He is not to be underestimated. He's a really knowledgeable monetary man.
Is he pro central bank digital currency?
Well, this is a question that I didn't answer your question. We don't know that yet.
Okay.
But let's say he will interact with knowledge with the big players. It's in the hands of the very biggest banks, and Trump will go with whatever the big banks want to do.
Okay, so my narrative is this. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. That would be like how Bill O'Reilly used to say, "Oh, tell me if I'm wrong. Where am I wrong?" So a weaker dollar, especially if it begins to be a trend and begins to be, like you said, import more inflation just nominally with a weaker dollar, it's going to take more dollars to buy anything. So if it really gets weak to the fact that Americans consider it a big problem and a crisis, isn't that the best way to get citizens in the U.S. to embrace a central bank digital currency with the dollar in trouble and them saying, well, yeah, we're ready for any solution because the dollar is acting so bad?
You may be right, but I'm not sure the dollar is going to be in trouble. I think everybody else's currency is in worse shape. So we have all these theories about Russia and China trying to elbow
de-dollarization. Yeah,
the dollar is going to remain strong at least for another decade or two, if not much longer. So,
All right. So,
Now, one
so
thing I do want to mention, the yen. Everybody's looking at yen versus dollar back and forth, thinking about the bond market consequences. If the Chinese currency falls quite a bit, yen will have to take account because there's a lot of business between Japan and China. If the yen, if the yuan or the renminbi goes down a lot, the Bank of Japan and the Ministry of Finance in Japan will let the yen weaken. So the yen you can't look at in the abstract. It depends on China.
interesting. All right. So, China definitely did not come off the way the yen came off because they didn't intervene with cash. Uh, uh, the Chinese, but I don't know how many billions were spent to get this move, and if what you say in the yuan is a good correlation, then maybe we get another new high in U.S. dollar yen, which would be another new low in U.S. dollar yen. Is that what you're thinking is going to happen? The yen has not bottomed out yet, and in USD Japanese yen terms, it hasn't peaked yet. So you think there's more left to the trend that we've been in for forever. All right, it seems like it's been forever. It's been a long
Now,
time.
let me take you up on another issue, and that is Ukraine. If Trump takes over, he'll cut a deal on the Ukraine in a jiffy. And what we're going to see, surprise everybody, we're going to see Trump and Putin having a big hug. And it will be said to be a beginning of a new era. But stop for a minute and think about it. The deal, if there's a deal on Ukraine will keep what it has, but it will be permanently less size than it used to be. It will not ever be, well, ever is forever, but in our time will not be admitted to NATO. This is going to make Europe very nervous.
Okay,
and
yeah,
we're
sure,
going to see
it should.
increasing divisions between the Northern Europeans around the Baltic and the French and the Germans. They're going to have trouble keeping their act together in Europe. I see Europe becoming very shaky, especially if the deal goes as I expect, where essentially it looks like Russia and the US are having a happy time together.
Okay. Well, they and then the adversarial relationship that happened towards the end of the first Trump term of the China virus, China this, China that. The focus of tension shifts to the Pacific with China, and Europe's on its own.
Yeah, the people that I expect to come in to the Trump administration on foreign policy are basically serious China hawks.
Okay.
I mean, I see.
Will Navarro be part of it after he gets out of jail?
He's a fringe player.
Yeah, fringe. Okay.
But
Pompeo is not a fringe player, is he?
no, but Congressman Gallagher is now out there, not in Congress anymore. But he was the leader of the congressional bipartisan committee on, making more restrictions on China. I think you'd very likely to see him in one of the top jobs. I think he'll be the driver. He's a former Marine. He's a real tough guy. He really knows China. He's going to come out like a Marine.
Okay.
We're going to deal with this.
All right. Let me ask you this. I don't know what the news was, but there were lots of stories about tensions being ramped up with China. I don't know if it's what Biden did about technology or chips the other day, but a lot of trading desks were talking about an invasion of Taiwan. I've read that the best time for an amphibious assault, weather-wise, in the Taiwan Straits or rough seas, one of the best times is October. And is it possible that the October surprise is not salacious, but geo coming from China? Is it possible they can make a move before the election when the waters are most friendly for them to pull an amphibious assault?
Maybe, but I think our Navy has been preparing um, an explanation of how hard it will be for China. We talked about um, a hellhole that the Chinese would have to go through with the firepower of the U.S. be highly concentrated. At this time, China is not economically really strong. If they have an encounter with the U.S. and it's real bloody and they lose a lot of manpower, especially young men.
Well, they don't have women to marry anyway. What are they going to do with them?
Well,
Right? I mean, they can't find a wife because of the
true.
one-child policy.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Okay. All right. So that's a long shot. But let me ask you this as a student of history, that sometimes it's when nations are in trouble that they make aggressive moves to, because the economy is bad, they turn up the nationalism dial and distract people from the fact that they only have a half a bowl of rice.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think China is in so much trouble economically that it's going to be increasingly difficult to go on an adventure abroad when they are having an internal dynamic that is really bad for average working people, especially young people. You got the unemployment level for under 30 years old is huge. And
so that explains the big immigration of Chinese coming through the southern border, people that were, wanted conspiracy theories is that, they were Chinese plants coming in here waiting for a signal. They're leaving because of repression and economic reasons.
Yeah, for young people, there's no future in China right now. So, the U.S., there's a lot of affection for the U.S. among young people. The technology that applies not only in business, entertainment, everything. It's not surprising Chinese want to leave there and come here. And that's not going away.
Okay. Why don't we turn our matters to the financial markets, and what's the big thing that you're paying attention to? When I know you've been long-term negative bonds, you still feel that way?
No. We have a horrendous problem with the fiscal deficit, and it's going to get bigger. Whoever becomes president, whether it's Biden or
so the bonds are still a sell, right?
At this time, yes, but pretty soon, once we begin to see the outlines of how they're going to deal with the deficit, I believe we're going to see the longer duration bonds. Yes, they're a sell. The yields are going to start rising, so the bonds are going to be falling. So they're not a place to buy into. They're a place to short into.
Okay. And, you know, some of the parabolic moves in the Magnificent Seven, and in particular NVIDIA, have given up some ground lately. Here's the NASDAQ.
Yeah, there's a
We're
big
going to
rotation now. That
look.
rotation is not over. That's going to continue. I can see the Magnificent Seven coming down a long, long way. And, you know, the small caps slowly rectifying the imbalance.
Okay. All right. Do you think that's going to be enough to save the day for the averages? Because I'm a proponent of what takes you up can also take you down. So it was really the Mag 7 that led the way for years
Yep.
without breadth expanding. So maybe that's a hook. Now that the market could broaden out, but the averages could take a hit because they're heavily weighted.
Personally, yes. I work with a lot of fund managers around the world, and the smart thinkers I talk to, they're expecting a really deep contraction among the Magnificent Seven.
Okay. All right. Well, from their lips. That's one of my biggest positions. So, okay, anything else that you're paying attention to? You have a view on gold. I mean, gold's been a star performer, and it finally started to give up the ghost this week. In fact, after making a new high, looks like a reversal. Silver, which, you know, everyone writes silver squeeze, silver squeeze. Well, the squeeze is off for now. You have a view on commodities and inflation and
Not at this time. And inflation,
okay,
yeah. Well, at this time, we've got a few months of uncertainty leading up to a new administration.
okay.
And
How about the oil market? Would it be, even though it looks like Trump has a commanding lead, just to seal the deal, to generate some higher energy prices, to squeeze the consumer even more, and be willing to, if you're an independent voter, or you're not happy with the Democratic choice, vote for Trump because of drill baby drill?
well, he's he'll want to build up again, rebuild, if you want to call it that, momentum in U.S. generated energy. So, you know, build more pipes,
Yeah,
drill more oil and gas. And personally, I think that makes sense anyway.
yeah.
But I think with the Middle East, he'll cut some kind of deal with the Saudis that is favorable from the U.S. point of view.
Okay, how's he going to end the Gaza conflict? Is he going to force Benny to accept a two-state solution? How's he going to stop that in the Middle East?
That's we'll see. Um, he is very interactive with the Israeli community, meaning, you know, the political dynamics in Israel as well as in the U.S. So he's not going to go against that power structure.
Okay.
So there'll be fatalities like Netanyahu, but it's a very, we're not going to see a quick solution to two states. And too many people are focused on that. We are next going to see almost certainly an outbreak between Israel and Hezbollah, and that's going to distract attention, and because it means a confrontation with Iran.
Yeah, and he's an Iran hawk.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he did not release any of their funds.
That's right.
You know, he's criticizing
Yeah,
Biden administration for doing so, and
yes.
that's a cause for what happened in Israel in October. Is it possible that a Trump presidency and hard right-wing Israeli government may finally decide it's instead of having wars with the proxies to finally go after Iran?
I wouldn't rule that out. And it may be done in a variety of ways because Iran, they don't necessarily have to damage Iran within its borders. They can do a lot of damage by taking out a lot of the Iran Revolutionary Guards who are operating all around the region. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out.
Okay, to me, when you say you wouldn't rule it out, it's a probable possible situation. Well, you know, Iran could cause some havoc to get this oil to pop if they do something in the Strait of
Yep,
Hormuz, right?
yep.
Okay, you know, this is just kind of a wild card. Everyone's taking it for granted that there will be an election.
Yep.
Okay, and if Trump had been taken out, there probably be martial law right now. Is it possible that we have a hard time pulling off an election? And could it be that perhaps a war could, say we were in a state of war with Iran or another country, a regional conflict, uh, not necessarily World War III, that the elections could be postponed?
Uh, I don't see that.
Okay,
We're on track.
okay,
The only thing that can happen that's a surprise is if the confusion continues and we go to the polls and it turns out that RFK comes up with enough votes to block
both.
270 for either the Democrat or the Republican. In that case, the decision is going to go to the House next year. So
Okay.
don't rule
Before
that
it
out.
changes, before the election results, before it changes, the House made up of the balance it has now will make the decision.
If it goes to a contingent election, it'll be the House of next year that
Okay.
decides.
Okay, the new reps, the new
Yes.
representatives.
Yep.
So that would mean we wouldn't know who was president through at least you know, January, February.
January, February.
Well, and what do you think the effect on the markets would be?
Confusion,
Okay.
volatility, worry. Everybody's going to be worried. I don't know, but you know.
All right. Here's volatility, Harold. And you know, I know that, and you and Nick write a great letter. I want to get the plug in right now. Okay, it's prolific, all the information that comes. I know you mainly send that out to institutional people. Can retail people get your writings?
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah,
We every day do a market analysis every working day,
yes.
and it's having considerable influence among what I would call the heavy, the heavy hitters. And but every day we also I turn out my political analysis developments around the world. You know the what's happening with in Myanmar because the leader is in ill health. All of this is very important to understanding what's taking place. And with the politics, I moved back to Washington and I'm back in the middle of what goes on. So I feel I'm about as capable to understand the games now as I was years ago. So, to me, it's in my old haunts when I worked for several presidents.
Yeah, check this out. And it comes out how many times a week, both of them?
And every day that the markets are open.
Every day. Okay, and look at this, everyone. So see if you could get your hands on it. Okay. It's
We
Harold
make
and
it
Nicholas.
available through Shopify, but we often post some notes about it and
Okay.
have a
And you could follow Harold on X at Hal's Rethink.
yeah.
And Harold, what a great, I'm really always a pleasure. The half an hour flies every time I talk to you. And what's nice for someone who's hosting you is they can ask you anything. And you usually have a pretty good answer. It's possible, or it's probable, or I don't think so. You do, you're not like, well, it could happen unless that happens, then it won't happen unless it happens. Have you ever heard analysis like that?
Yeah.
It could happen, but if it doesn't, it means it won't happen, but maybe
Yeah.
later on it will happen
Well,
if
I've
this
been
doesn't
doing
happen. Huh?
ever since I left the government years back. I've been doing what I would call foreseeing what's coming, and I've been really right about almost all these developments. The deterioration of Germany's industrial capability. I mean, that was years ahead, seeing that developing.
Yeah.
The weakening of China. Um, long before all the recent doubts about China, I was arguing the corner had been turned. So it's a lifetime of experience dealing with these issues. And I'm having fun now being back in Washington, seeing how it all plays out. I know some of the players on both sides. I'm
Nice,
not
Harold.
very optimistic about the quality of the people on the Democratic side right now.
Yeah.
Trump has some pretty serious players that he's thinking of bringing in, so he might surprise everybody with confidence.
Okay. Well, right now, this chart right here, I think is the most important chart on the board. And all of this means sanguine, everything's okay, nothing's wrong, I'm complacent, everything's okay. And there are huge funds that sell volatility, and they've been making a fortune for years because every time vol pops, they just short vol. And, I mean, we could go back even longer, take a look at a monthly, and that goes back to 2020, see what vol did during COVID. But they've been making a fortune. There are even mutual funds, ETFs that people buy, that their whole strategy is to sell vol. And
Yep.
I think this is an accident waiting to happen,
Yep.
especially if we get through 20, that people, it's like they picked up quarters off the sidewalk for years, Harold, but they're not going to hear the steamroller come
Yep.
until. Do you agree with an increase in volatility coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And the internal dynamics for the U.S. market. I mean, the private equity and
Yeah.
private capital area is really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big shakeout for some really big firms.
Yeah.
And we're going to see turmoil among sectors. And maybe BlackRock can ride it out because they're so big, but and they may be the ones who really put the feet down and say, this is what we're going to do about digital currencies. They're big enough to dominate the decision.
All right. Well, they went into Bitcoin maybe for that reason.
Mm.
So Larry Fink is really the president of the United States.
In a way, yes.
The economic czar of
Yep.
the United States.
Yep.
All right. Well, you know, we have to get Larry to puke up all the homes he bought from people who were losing them in '08,
Yep.
so he can help relieve the housing shortage.
Yep.
He's renting these houses back to people who lost them and making a fortune goosing their rates. So I'm not a Larry Fink fan. I'd like to see him taste a little bit about what most Americans are feeling. And that would take losses for a guy like that to feel something. All right. So you like Larry Fink?
No.
Okay, well then we're on the same team, Harold. So tell them to get rid of all that residential housing so people have a place to live again.
Look, going back to 2008, 9,
Yeah,
when we saved the banks,
yeah,
all along I thought we should not have tried to save the banks. We
right.
should have saved the homeowners and forced the banks to write down the losses, but we didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was great seeing you, buddy, and even better talking to you.
Well, good to talk to you again. And
All right.
now that I've got my technical structure here fixed up.
Yeah. Thank you, Pippa.
Yeah.
And Harold, have a great summer. We'll get back together before the elections in the fall to see how things are shaping up with
I'm
your
having
work.
fun with Pippa here because
Hey, Pippa.
Hey.
Yeah.
she's
So,
at the
you know, you're a good dad, and I could tell that because your daughter's there for you on you know, that this was important to you. And
That's
so
right.
you have you're a good dad, and that's why you have a great daughter. It's because of what you did. And that's a great picture of you two together. I wish I could take a snapshot. But anyway,
I'm
you
glad you're
guys
having fun.
enjoy your summer. Pippa, maybe one day you and I could do one of these together. And
Definitely. We'll chat.
all right. And enjoy. And I'll talk to you in October, Harold.
Okay.
All right. Harold Malmgren, one of my favorite guests to talk to about everything on the planet, and even more than that. So that's a wrap, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. It's on tape, videoed, and looks like the market is not doing that much. So everyone, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be seeing you guys on Monday. All right. Don't just count your pips. What are you supposed to count? Write it out for me. Not just your pips. Hi, Sinatra. That's right. Count those. You can't be depressed and grateful simultaneously. I've tried it. It's impossible. Thank you, George. See you guys.